1 with the Warlock up against the Hunter. Now, I know this match has been debated since the very beginning of Hearthstone when Hunter and Warlock, or sorry, Zoo Warlock, have been out. These days, though, it's been going through a lot of evolution, especially when you have interesting tech in these decks. One of them, of course, being Crazed Alchemist, and, of course, this very weird Hunter deck that has Blood Mage Thalnos, Power Shot. Does that make the Zoo Warlock matchup even better?
I think that those cards are actually, even though they're a tiny bit questionable for some other matchups, like running that double Power Shot in Killer Hero's deck, it might not be the greatest card against some of the controlling decks, but against the Zoo Warlock, I mean, that's pretty cool. I think it should work out just fine for him if the early game lines up well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're able to answer, like you said, the early game, like Argent Squire, Possessed Villager, those are cards that On the Hunt works very well against. I know Hunters specifically just need to stop the Warlock from building the board too much because they don't have access to those convenient board clears as easily. But I guess you do have Power Shot, so that could be something that he draws into the later stages of the game to help him swing the board.
Yep, and in these type of games, usually where both players are playing very like board control style, the early hands and the early curves are extremely important. We see EdwardElric coming out pretty much perfectly with those, with double 1-drop on turn 1, 2-drop into that turn 3 Imp Gang boss. Killer Hero also not looking too bad. That Eaglehorn Bow is the perfect answer to that Wolf from Elric.
Yeah, although if the game continues to go on, I mean, Killer Hero has also some interesting stuff in the late game, Sylvanas being one of those interesting cards. Princess Hurahan, that card that activates Death Rattles immediately. You can steal a minion with Sylvanas and also use her to trade and take another minion. That's assuming the dream scenario. Of course, you also can just straight up win through Savannah Highmane and pressuring, because in the end, the hero powers still line up very favorably for the Hunter.
Yeah, those cards are extremely powerful. Sylvanas Windrunner, not the greatest thing usually for this particular matchup, as it is a little bit slow. You need that 6 mana and there's no immediate impact. Sometimes the Zoo Warlock is able to close out the games too fast. For the Hunter, oh, another Highmane. I mean, yeah, good cards, but you can only play one on turn 6, and right now we're on turn 4. There's only the Quickshot and on the Hunter he is able to play it right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at his list, and I think outside of just Call of the Wilds, those are the most expensive cards in his deck, and he could have drawn anything else to help him get board stabilization, Flame Jugglers, Huge Toads, his King's Elix. None of those 2-drops are in his hand, and as such, he's just passing. He doesn't even want to play this On the Hunt because he doesn't want to have a way for his opponent to trigger his Imp Gang boss very easily.
Yeah, turn 4, Hero Power Pass, that feels really horrible. So a tiny bit of like a clunky draw from Killer Hero, but maybe he can make something good come out of it. Maybe he draws a good card for his next turn. It is still possible for him to turn it around, and there's a Power Shot. That helps, at least a little bit.
It does. Power Shot and Quick Shot. Let's see, how do you line that up without it being awkward? I guess if you Quick Shot... Oh, no, you have to attack first so you can take minimal damage on the Darkshire Councilman.
Yeah, so going into the Council, probably the bow hit on the Councilman and going for the Power Shot. Maybe on the Hunt to remove a 1-1 from the board afterwards. He could also go for the Quick Shot if he feels like on the Hunt would be nice for maybe turn 7 where he wants to play another one of those 6-drops.
If there's one thing we can at least universally agree is that he needs to clear the board as much as possible for the 6-mana play to be effective. Yep. I don't think you can leave up too many things here. Although, I mean, a lot of minions are spawning off the Imp Gang boss, and that is why this is one of the best 3-mana cards in the game, specifically because of how much it leaves behind when it gets hit.
Absolutely. Killer Hero, they're using his bow and 2 cards from his hand, still unable to even remotely be able to deal with what's on the board. However, those are still only like small minions. They are only 1-1, so that's not too much pressure.
It's just so annoying to deal with without Unleash the Hounds.
It really is.
He only has 1 copy in the deck, so it's unlikely that he'll be able to draw it the next turn or even the next few turns. But that would be something that's very helpful because you could play Savannah Highmane, you could play Sylvanas Windrunner, but do you have time to even survive? Your opponent might just ignore that minion and just try to rush you down before the game can swing the other way.
Yeah, well, in this situation, he just has to go for one of those Highmanes and hope for the best. EdwardElric looking at 7 power on the board right now, but there's another 4 from the Abusive because of that.
Powerful only.
If
really
he gets 1
card.
juggle to face, I believe that would... Oh, Soulfire, well, that's gonna seal it.
Okay. There you go. And those are the exact dream cards that you're looking for. 1 mana, 4 damage cards, and you're not going to waste a single one as you're able to squeeze in everything perfectly on the board. So that's going to wrap up game number 1 very quickly, but I think it's a symptom of an overarching problem in Killer Hero's decks. I don't know if it's exactly the most consistent. This is why you're afraid to play too many late game cards as a hunter. Without having plays available every single turn, you're just going to fall so far behind.
Yeah, a lot of players, especially pro players, tend to build their hunter list very proactive and try to have as solid of a curve early on as possible, because the hero power, while it is very powerful, it's one of the strongest hero powers in the game, it does not affect the board. So missing your turn 2 play, or like we saw in this case, he missed his turn 4 play, he ended up disastrously.
All right, so a very strong and fast game number 1 victory for Edward, who's looking strong so far. Let's take a look and get to know him a little bit better before we get ready for game number 2.
Hello everybody, I'm EdwardElric. I'm a Chinese student in Australia and I'm now studying IT. And my daily life in Australia is going to school, watching Hearthstone films and playing Hearthstone. I love the kangaroos there, I love the people there, but I don't like the food there. Yeah. My friends there sometimes called me to go hiking and go to the beaches. But I usually play Hearthstone because I think Hearthstone is more interesting here. How do I feel about this tournament? 1 week ago, before I came to America, I feel very stressful. I felt very nervous, but after I came to USA, I feel ambitious and very high spirit. I cannot wait to compete with the other players. The players in this tournament, like Ping Ho and Handsome Guy, are very big names, and I'm just a small potato, but I believe I can win all of them. Maybe you don't know EdwardElric before, but after this weekend, you will know him as a champion.
Oh, I love it, man. I like that this guy is bringing a lot of fire. Straight fire. Just look at that interview, and this guy, he's determined to become the champion. Predicting. I mean, some people are always like, oh, well, I don't know. I'll just play my best and hope for the best. This guy's already declaring himself. You guys will know me as the winner of this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I like his chances, both in this semi-final and if he was to go forward, maybe even in the final. Some of the casters were predicting him to potentially take it all.
Some of the smart casters.
Oh, you were one of them. That's right.
That's right.
Here we go. Killer Hero is going to be playing his Yogg-Saron mage this time around. EdwardElric going with his shaman.
Yeah, and it's not just a Yogg-Saron mage, but it also has some of those early game plays with the Mana Worm and the Flame Wakers, so you can get early game board control, and maybe even snowball that to a victory. Oftentimes, Yogg-Saron is, we'll just call it a fail-safe option. It's not necessarily the primary win condition, but sometimes you get really close to burning your opponent, so you can always wait for that inevitable fireball, or you can get 5 fireballs from Yogg-Saron.
Definitely. There's a lot of other like kind of cool tech cards in there as well. Playing a lot of one-offs, for example, this one Extra Conjurer, one Flame Strike, Ragnar's Pylord. A lot of tools if the game was to get further, but EdwardElric playing that aggressive deck, this game might be over before we get to those late turns.
It's interesting, too, some of the tech inclusions that he has with cards like Elemental Destruction. That was a card that was first seen towards the middle of League of Explorers. I know Kalento was the first player to really popularize that for tournament play, because a lot of times as the aggressive shaman, you stop trying to use minions and you try to use a lot of turrets. And you don't want to. The only way that your opponent can usually beat you is by taking over the board's races. And so sometimes you have Elemental Destruction to kind of deal with that as such. Yep. But it's kind of cycled out of popularity. Why do you think Edward brought it back?
I am not sure why he chose to brought it back right here. Maybe he thinks that that might give him that extra little bit of time after Doomhammer has been played, for example, if the board is no longer in his favor, to be able to push out that little bit of extra damage. Yes, it's a very powerful card, and the Overload, he has those lava shocks to deal with it, to kind of get rid of it easily. But it is a little bit inconsistent in a way where sometimes you might miss your turn 3 play, for example, if you chose to cut 3 mana minion from your deck to make room for it.
Yeah, well, in this case, I bet he wishes that was a 3 mana minion. He doesn't have it to play for next turn instead of Doomhammer. And after Doomhammer, you just want to have good follow-up. It's not necessarily that he would play the 3 mana minion over Doomhammer this turn, but you do want things that are proactive. And Element of Destruction is very reactive.
It's true, but in this game he's looking quite strong. That Doomhammer on turn 5, certainly powerful. Already has that Hunter hero power from that Finley Merkelton, so that's a lot of damage coming in fast, that's for sure.
Chooses to draw cards and he picks up
Frostbolt. That's a good card. Yeah, Frostbolt's certainly a good card against that Doomhammer. It's not only gonna deal that 3 damage, but also freezing your opponent's face is very, very important to stop the Doomhammer at least for 1 turn.
Yeah, I like Edward's approach too. He says, I'm gonna get damage in now while I have the chance to do this, just so, because I know he's got the ability to stop me with Mirror Image. I know he can use Frostbolt to stall as well. Plus also the shenanigans that continues as the game drags out. And I think it's a very good spot here for Edward.
This is just incredible. If he didn't freeze the face right here, right now, I believe the game would have been just over because of that Lava Burst hero power and the Doomhammer hits. But as it is, he has been frozen, so no attacks from that right now.
And even if he draws more damage, he needs a little bit more time before he can get that off.
Definitely still on the driver's seat here. That Hunter hero power puts Killer Hero on a pretty strict clock and Lava Burst also extending that damage potential to just end the game very, very quickly.
It always feels like they get the Hunter hero power every time, right? I don't know what's in the water with there specifically with Finley, but it just feels like he has a high chance to either get the Hunter hero power, and if it's not, it's usually like the Warlock life tap to get him the exact Lava Burst off the top.
Yep. And here, Rocket Blast, double arcane missiles. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of missiles from that Flamemaker for sure. But that is not going to save him from the Doomhammer, Lava Burst, and the hero power. So that's gonna be another quick one.
It's so fast and it's so furious, but Killer Hero just can't stop the pressure. And you have to go back to the drawing board and wonder again. These guys have the availability to ban a certain deck from your opponent, and they're choosing to lead the Shaman up, and the Shaman just takes the game very forcefully, and you guys can see why.
Yeah, very one-sided here in the end. Maybe not the greatest draw from Killer Hero and EdwardElric having that strong damage follow-up to his early turns.
Well, at least Killer Hero got one thing he wanted, which is if he does end up winning, it's not a domination. He said, I hope you don't lose too badly, and that's not the case at all. So that wraps up game number 2. Killer Hero did mention a lot of things in his interview with us, how he enjoys American culture and how he thinks he can take down this tournament. Let's take a look at his interview as we get ready for game number 3.
Killer Hero is a talented player from Taiwan who's relatively unknown. But after talking to him, I can for sure say one thing. He loves American pop culture.
我喜欢看美国的影集，那像是比较有名的《阴尸路》还有《权力的游戏》。我喜欢听音乐，从 hip hop 到抒情歌曲。这也是我第一次因为打比赛才可以出去到那么远的国家，那第一次来会蛮兴奋的。有机会的话，我还蛮想亲眼看一下美国明星的样子。
All right, so can he turn this series around? He's down 0-2. Still a couple games away from turning the series into a disaster, because you don't want to go 0-4 in the semifinals.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be a difficult task, because I feel like EdwardElric was kind of favorite coming into this one from the beginning, and now Killer Hero down 0-2 has to find 4 wins with his faggot deck still. And EdwardElric only has two solid decks remaining, so I don't know, anything can happen, but it's gonna be a tough one.
Getting PTSD from yesterday's Murloc games when you said anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Not much happened in that game.
Nothing happened in that
Nothing
game.
at all.
Oh, that's why they pay us the big bucks. Let's go into game number 3. EdwardElric has the Warrior, and that is the Dragon Warrior. You can see the Blackwing Corruptor there, already signifying that. Killer Hero has his own Shaman, which has interesting tech, to say the least. He is also taking one of those new school thoughts of maybe I don't play Doomhammer. Instead, I play Alakir the Windlord, and I have other interesting, reliable cards like Azure Drake or Harrison Jones to answer other people's weapon stuff.
Yep.
So he's got some cool stuff included in this deck.
He also has some quite solid stuff, as we can see here. That Tunnel Shock, Totem Column, absolutely perfect. That's exactly what you want, and you want to be going first. EdwardElric, if he was to pick up a Fire War Axe maybe, that would certainly help him out, but he doesn't have it in his first 4, so he's probably gonna be trying to find it. Did he keep the entire hand? Wow, he actually just keep the entire hand.
Yeah, he's pretty confident that he'll pick up a dragon of some sort. Maybe he's convinced that he needs to just be able to win back the board, and Blackwing Corruptor is one of those cards.
Yep, no dragon to synergize with them just yet, though. It might be a little bit of a slow start, and Killer Hero is gonna be kind of like pulling ahead here early on.
This right here is the barometer of success in the metagame. If your deck can survive this, it's a viable deck. That's pretty much the exact meter of whether or not your deck is good enough to stay alive in this metagame, just because of how powerful and explosive it is. Even if you deal with the Tone Trog, a 3-4 hitting you every turn is very annoying to deal with. And then they leverage that for other cards, normally like Doomhammer, or in this case, he's got other very big sway cards.
Yeah, testing that is also quite easy. Just queue up in ranked play. This type of Shaman decks, besides the few weird deck choices that Killer Heroes has chosen to make, is one of the most popular and most successful decks in ranked play right now.
Oh, finally gets a dragon. So at least he has the Blackwing Corruptors on turn 5, and it's not getting out of hand just yet. But there are some explosive potential in Killer Hero's hand with those Flame Tongues.
Yep, and here he could play Flame Tongue, trade one of his minions in. He could also play Flame Tongue and maybe use the Rock Biter instead to keep both of his 2/2s for now.
That's pretty good to get 8 damage into your opponents because he's shown that he doesn't have a Fiery War Axe to cleanly remove, and perhaps you can get that damage twice.
He is going to do just that. 8 damage, and might be a lot more. EdwardElric really needs to make something happen here, and he needs to do it fast.
Lee gonna snipe the Flame Tongue. Killer Hero starting to run dry, but he could easily just continue to pressure his damage in.
Oh wow, and Lightning Bolt, so this is gonna be another 9 damage this time going to the face of EdwardElric because of that buff from the Lightning Overload on the drug.
9 damage, putting him to just 8 health remaining. Blackwing Corruptor's finally allowed to come out of the gate here, but is it too little too late?
I think so, but we'll see. I mean, it does give him like a tiny chance, I suppose. Killer Hero does not have the last bits of damage just yet. There's so many draws that he can pick up here just to end the game right here, right now. Squire, not gonna do it.
He only has 1 Argus Squire in the deck, so that would be one of his weakest draws available. So a good moment to breathe for Edward, but Killer Hero still looming in the shrouds here. I mean, you look at it, you're at 4 HP, and you're not exactly a life gain deck from the Warrior side.
Yeah, and there's no brawls in that Warrior deck either, so no draw really to save him.
So you're just gonna play this and execute the Flame Juggler and hope your opponent still doesn't get 2 extra damage, and that can come through multitude of sources, Primal Fusion being one of them.
Totem Column, however, is not one of those cards.
Imagine he survives at 2 health and Warrior's able to survive.
It's not impossible. I mean, there could be something like a Twilight Guardian coming in next turn, maybe to get that valuable taunt. However, it is going to be a Frothing Berserker.
And that taunt totem is so annoying.
It really is. He's going to try to find the priest hero power here in order to survive.
Perhaps a mage hero power as well, so that way he can
that would do it.
Get past it with Blood to Ichor and then trade onto the 3/4.
That's also true. So yeah, that's a good pick. It might even be better, but on the other hand, like you kind of have to pick the heal because this game is gonna go on for quite a while, and eventually there will be some kind of damage coming in from Killer Hero. So kind of thinking long term, being able to heal up from that low life total might be more important.
Okay, so he's at 4 health now, so if he takes a priest hero power, he's gonna go up to 6.
Yep.
And he could also use Blood to Ichor to gain 1 health, but I think in his mind, it's so hard to weigh the difference, you know? I think he'd rather have the 2/2.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of important to get those trades off. Is he finally going to find the lethal? Yes. That is going to do it.
Just barely enough. As Killer Hero limps over the finish line, but hey, as long as you get the win and you're not down 0-3, I think Killer Hero's, he'll take it.
Yeah, what a game. He actually didn't draw any of those wacky cards that he chose to put in the deck. No Harrison Jones, no Unlucky Windlord. Nothing really out of the ordinary.
Yeah, so that's going to wrap up the game, and so Killer Hero gets a much-needed win. The Shamans, they did their thing. Their first game, they make an appearance, they win, both on Edward and Killer Hero's side. And again, it calls to question an interesting decision here that we give the availability to ban a class here. Killer Hero, of course, choosing to ban Edward's Freeze Mage deck. Edward choosing to ban the Warrior. And they're just leaving the Shamans open. Why is that, Sufis? Are they just letting Shaman do his thing? Or maybe Shaman's even slightly overrated into some of these players' ideas?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some mind games going into this, seeing that that Warrior ban, it was like kind of predicted based on the Freeze Mage in the other players' lineup. So banning the Freeze Mage does make a lot of sense. So in the bans, I kind of feel like Killer Hero maybe got the upper hand still.
Yeah, Freeze Mage can be very problematic for several of his classes, most notably Zoo, which, I mean, they do have a lot more burn these days, running Soulfires and Leroy as one of their main staples to kill. Not to mention he has also Gormok as direct damage. But it's still a very bad matchup, so I don't mind that ban at all.
Yeah. And here we go, Killer Hero once again trying to find a win with his tempo Yoxaron Mage. EdwardElric gonna take another try with the Dragon Warrior. How do you feel about the Dragon Warrior?
Well, I'm still a little bit baffled by the choice to keep the Blackwing Corruptor over fishing for really important cards like Fiery War Axe in the matchup.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you always have to wonder, because the Mulligans is so crucial. There's like 5 keys to being a really good player, and all of them are not more important than the other, like preparation, technical plays, and one of them is Mulligans. You have to Mulligan perfectly every time, and that is one of those things where I feel like we could debate for a long time about whether or not it's correct.
Yeah, that's certainly something that also kind of like stand out to me. Like keeping a 5-drop in a matchup where the early game might be the struggling point. Huh. Well, it didn't work out that time, but here we go. Again, no Fire War Axe, but he does have a lot of other strong plays, like that Frothing Berserker.
Yeah, and you know, this deck is definitely a lot slower if it doesn't have Mana Worm. I think 2014 World Champion Firebat was saying something pretty absurd. Like I think it's hyperbole, but he said the win rate without Mana Worm versus with Mana Worm is like 40% difference. That's what he's kind of estimating, especially if you have things like coin and whatnot. I think he was kind of just exaggerating to get his point across. But
yeah, but still, I can kind of understand that point. Like there's certainly something to it. Like the difference between Tunnel Shock and no Tunnel Shock for Shaman as well. It's quite noticeable. And let's see if the Flame Waker can finish the job. And yes, it does. Very important for Killer Hero here.
Yeah, it was pretty likely.
It was. It certainly was, yeah. There were a lot of missiles from that. Those two spells, the coin being one of them.
This is a great snipe here from the Gorkon Elite. Being able to kill that Flame Waker shuts off the ability to just run away with the game. There's so many times that Flame Waker goes unanswered, and then all of a sudden you're just super far behind. It adds 2 spell damage effectively to everything you play.
Yep. Here, pretty good. He had to spend that 2 mana to ping off that Gorkron. But he had another 2-drop to play with it. Oh, finally thinking about Fire War Axe, and with that slam, he's able to clear the board completely.
Okay. So, as long as he can survive, he's got some good plays, but so does Killer Hero. He's got a little bit of a slower hand. Didn't have exactly a turn 5 play that was developing onto the board, but that Water Elemental, an excellent pickup.
Yeah, the game is very close right now.
What? Okay.
Oh, that's a great card to draw. 1 mana. Well, that is absolutely perfect for him right here. Blood to Igar 2, being able to kind of finally pull ahead on the board.
That is some amazing tempo. That's a great way to develop 5 power onto the board. You keep your weapon. Of course, Sylvanas does throw a wrench into things, but maybe Edward just ignores it. It's just so hard to deal with it.
It really is, but how do you ignore it?
Yeah,
There's so many things that can go wrong if you ignore it, because then Killer Hero might potentially have some plays available to him that would kind of...
It's true, and I guess you just give up your board.
Yep.
Replay another big minion, because
it feels bad, but has to be done.
Okay. Also, Malkarok can do some pretty sweet. So we've got some Sword of Justice.
Yep.
And Malkarok does commandly control the board, so Killer Hero only can respond through a really passive play. Hopefully his opponent's board doesn't expand too much so that Ragnaros gets a lot worse.
It's very interesting. He's gonna go for those mirror images. I think he's kind of like wanting to set up for the Ragnaros Phylod here. Maybe protect it with those taunts, so there won't be any easy trading for it on the next turn. Also, being it a 1/1 off is kind of nice for that Rag, because now that it's gone, the Rag won't be hitting it. So there's only good hits here once he chooses to drop the Rags, which I'm sure he will.
In a very weird way, this was a very good outcome for Edward, because if his opponent did have Flame Strike, that would actually conveniently clear the board. In this case, though, the Ragnaros just goes face one place in order to win the game, is to drain your opponent's health to 0. So yeah, you can clear the board, but Rag 8 to the face with other burn to follow up potentially could be something that Killer Hero's looking at.
Well, this is going to be a huge moment right here.
Oh, wow. All right, here we go. Rag coin flips. Let's see what's going to happen here.
9-9 Ragnar.
Oh, no.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, the potential lethal for the Rag.
Oh man, Arcane Intellect. There could be some lethals to be found here too. Something like a Firebolt and a Frostbolt would do it. Just finding a Frostbolt though. That's, I think that might be going into the Korkron Elite's way.
Okay, well, how do you utilize Frostbolts if you even do that? You Frostbolt. Oh.
Yeah. I mean the Frothing Berserker. That's probably something you have to stop with that Frostbolt.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Lines up pretty conveniently. You shoot the Rag also just in case Rag doesn't end the game, so that you can kill your opponent's Rag. It's another valuable target, and I think Killer Hero is very satisfied with 2 or 3 of the outcomes. Oh, that is the primary one, though. Shuts it down and ends the game. Yogg-Saron, of course, watching from the sidelines. A little bit of a sad moment.
Yeah, but not sad for Killer Hero. He's certainly happy to be picking that one up, and he ties the series. Wow, there might be a comeback in the making, although it looks so bad in the after the first 2 games.
It feels like that last few turns was played with Blitz Hearthstone. He could have done a little bit slower play too, but I mean, all things considered, going for the Rag and trying to shoot it instead of trading and trying to go for more of the control over the board. Yeah. Maybe the nerves are getting to them. I did hear from one of the stage managers that Edward was feeling a little bit nervous before the games.
These guys are playing so fast that I think it kind of has to be the case. I really would hope that they would slow down just a tiny bit, because I don't really feel like it would be a nice thing to witness some kind of big misplay, maybe missing even lethals and that type of things. Even if you see the obvious play like straight away, I think it's good to just pause, just think it through. Maybe there is something else that you didn't see immediately.
You have 70 seconds. Why don't you use as much of it as you can just to slow down? Maybe it's not necessarily about plays, but also keeping composure. But all things have said and done right now for the first 4 games, and now we have reset to a best of 3. Interesting to note, EdwardElric has dropped his previous 2 games of Dragon Glory, and once again, 3rd game in a row, just trying to queue it up, get that win out of the way.
Yeah, this time he does have that early fire War Axe. He did have it in the previous game too. He did have the axe, but he didn't have it so early on. He only picked it up on, was it turn 4 or 5? And it's going to be a huge deal here, helping him to deal with the juggler and whatever comes next.
Yeah, again, having Fiery War Axe early on, so paramount. And if you don't have Fiery War Axe, there's also backup options. Alexstrasza's Champion being one of those cards, where if you can get a good trade, it functionally feels like Fiery War Axe, because ideally you get 2 for 1.
Yep. And here, it's an interesting decision, because if you go for the Forbidden Ritual, the Ravaging Ghoul would be so huge. So I definitely do agree with this brand. Although, as we can see, like looking at the hands, the Forbidden Ritual would have been just fine.
And that's a great draw here. Korkron Elite, very clean use of your mana. Otherwise, you would probably float one.
Yep, pretty good. But for Killer Hero, that's a good trade. Just using that one here. And now, if you Killer Hero, you're like, please no ghoul, please no ghoul.
Yeah, at least if he ghouls, he's playing a little bit off curve. But there is no ghoul for Edward. And
nope,
it's a little bit messy.
But he does have quite a few strong plays. The real problem here, though, is that there's that Gormok the Impaler coming in, and there's no good way to remove multiple minions right now. He would have to charge and use the... But I believe there's still going to be that potential because of the Abusive, which is going to add the 4th minion to the board. Oh, but
interesting. Would you play Gormok, or would you try to get Sea Giant out as fast as possible?
Actually, the Gormok isn't that spectacular. I was thinking about that the Gormok would have been a good answer for maybe the Twilight Guardian, but in this situation, I definitely do agree with the Sea Giant. If he wasn't to play it right now, it might be tricky to play later on. And Gormok is still an option going forward to be able to deal with something like a Blackwing Corruptor.
Yeah, it's really true. And if Edward was willing to part ways with the second charge of the Fiery War Axe, he'd also shut down Gormok and Sea Giant. It's one of those things, too, where in the end, Edward was trying to weigh the value of keeping the weapon. And he picks up the Ravaging Ghoul.
Yeah, that's the Ghoul. Finally for EdwardElric. Certainly the card that he was hoping to see. Such a powerful tool against the Warlock in almost any case, but here, like we see, there's already so many 1 toughness minions on the board that it's specifically powerful.
Okay, so if he has Ravaging Ghoul, his mana locks him up, though. He only has 3 mana remaining, and he did use an Execute. I'm Killer Hero. I feel like I can pressure with the Gormok and try to get as much damage in as possible.
Yep, this is a tiny bit weird on the sequencing. I don't know what's the plan.
I think it
here.
wants to life tap.
But wouldn't it be better to do it first, maybe, to see if there was a defender of Argus coming in?
Right.
All right.
Okay. So I guess in the end he was playing the board, but yeah, it is interesting that he chose to activate it first.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things. We were just talking about it, that nerves might be getting to some of these players here. I don't think either one of these guys has been on a stage like this or even close to anything like this, like the one here. So maybe a little bit of weird sequencing there, thinking it through that maybe he wanted to life tap or not and going for the dive after playing the Gormok, but it kind of, I don't disagree with the play itself still.
I like this from Edward. He chooses the Priest Hero power, because you know what? His hand has a lot of mana usage anyways, and he's not going to be able to utilize life tap. And of course, having the heal allows him to stave off some early pressure, or for late game pressure through Burst, Leroy Jenkins, Soulfire, etc. Oh
yeah, late game definitely favors EdwardElric, so having that Priest Hero power is something that's going to kind of keep his head above the water against the gods like Leroy and Soulfires.
Here comes the March of the Dragon Warrior right back. I mean, it's not necessarily used to playing a very reactive role, like control stylish, but that's what you gotta do when a deck's trying to swarm you like Zoo. And Killer Hero's the one stuck life tapping, and he's playing relatively weak minions. I mean, Darkshire Councilman is great if you have a turn to set up, but it's just pretty understated at 2-5.
It really is. When you're playing from behind as a Zoo, it's always a terrible situation, and here he doesn't really have the tools that he would need to get it done. EdwardElric getting to pick the trades here, and they certainly are good ones. Killer Hero in a Zoo wall, there's no good way to remove those one toughness minions since there is only one Mortal Coil. Well, that would help, but only one Mortal Coil, that's not gonna be enough to turn this around, I think.
Okay, Abusive Sergeant is not it. I like that Edward was also healing himself. Yeah, he could heal his minions and play around some of those annoying things that opponents can do to weak minions, but you know, like he's out of range from Leroy Jenkins.
I'm just looking at it. 9 mana, just one drop pass. It feels bad.
Yeah, you can't really do anything.
No, there was nothing he could have done. And here, yeah, he might get 2 cards, but there's nothing really that. Absolutely nothing.
Not even if he's able to hit some of the most ridiculous dark peddlers into Moto Coils to clear the board, will he be able to answer this? Specifically, he needs to get like Moto Coils into Soulfires and then have a convenient taunt in the way, and that's just not going to do it. Killer Heroes drops game 5, and that means EdwardElric finally gets a win with Dragon Warrior, putting him on match point.
Yep, and now he only has his Rogue remaining against Killer Heroes. Zoo Warlock and that and what was the other one that he remaining? Was it his was the Hunter? Did the Hunter finally win?
No, the Hunter lost in the first game against the Zoo Warlock.
Okay, so he still has that Hunter and the Zoo, and I have to say that the Rogue does stand quite a good chance against both of those decks. So EdwardElric once again like taking the lead. He was up 2-0, then Killer Hero tied it up, but EdwardElric now 1 game away from moving on to the finals.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up being on top here. Either way, no matter how you spin it, Killer Hero has to win 2 games. So if he chooses the Warlock or the Hunter, whichever he's more comfortable with, he's just going to queue up. So that is the Zoo Warlock. EdwardElric starting off with the coin, already a promising start. There's also some really good, powerful things you're looking for: SI7 Agent, Backstab, even Tomb Pillagers isn't so bad sometimes.
Yep, Killer Hero, however, also with a really nice 1 and 2. EdwardElric, Blood Mage could be a keep, but those other cards are certainly gonna fly back to the deck very quickly.
Okay, Edward actually taking some time to think through his mulligans. I like it.
Yep, me too. Certainly, like, there's so much on the line here. You really don't want to make any mistakes. The Bloody Mage might be what he's thinking about right now, because if there was something to go along with it, maybe Fan of Knives that he could prep out to get the 2 damage fan off early on, or a Backstab to be able to deal with a early Voidwalker. It might be a card that you want to have, but I wouldn't blame him for also drawing it back and trying to kind of like increase his chance of finding the Backstab and the fan.
Or perhaps he's just taking a second to pray to Ben Bro and the Innkeeper. Our Bro, who art thou in heaven?
Might be the case.
Hallowed be thy laugh. Yeah, I mean, just like you said, he's got that fan, and he's got that ability to potentially swing the board into his favor, and that's what Rogue's going to be looking for at one point.
The prep is still missing, though, so if he was to do the Blood Mage fan, he would have to wait at least to turn 4 to do it with the coin.
Yeah, just kind of sit on it for now. I mean, Flame Imp is one of the best cards you can ever start off with this deck, just because of the amount of pressure that you can put onto the Miracle Rogue. Because like anything else, a lot of people are always looking at some of these insane combo cards. Like, how do I deal with Cthulhu? How do I deal with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer or some of these other really crazy combos in the game? It's like, pressure them. Just don't let them get in the situation where they can have so much life that you can't kill them. A lot of times, Miracle Rogue can play the Rogue, play the Gadgetzan, but they're at 10 health, and then you Leroy them. So this is a situation where that Flame Imp can realistically get 9 damage, maybe even more.
Certainly. EdwardElric here going to use that dagger with the plan to either Fan of Knives next turn or just hit it again with the weapon if he wants to go for something like a coin Tomb Pillager. The Tomb Pillager probably not a very good play for next turn because how efficiently the Zoo would be likely to wait for it.
Yikes, it's a lot of damage.
It is, but just one Fan of Knives. I mean, sorry, one preparation would be such a turnaround, but do you go for the Blood Imp or do you go for the Voidwalker?
Blood Imp, just so you can play around Fan of Knives. I mean, that attack telegraphed that Fan of Knives pretty heavily, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. Is it the prep?
No. It's not Leroy. So instead he Shadow Strikes.
Shadow Strike on a 1-drop that already dealt 6 damage, or 7 damage because of the dial. Doesn't feel great, but I feel like in this situation he kind of just had to do it even if he didn't like it that much.
And now you still have reasonable pressure onto the board here.
Yep. That's quite a bit of damage coming in from here.
This game feels like it's just going to end so quickly unless Edward picks up that preparation like you said. He does have the coin for the Blood Mage Thaunos, but he's still leaving up the Darkshire Councilman.
It's so scary because of something like Forbidden Ritual, which we do see in Killer Hero's hand right now. So even though the fan does clear most of the stuff on the board right now, Killer Hero no struggle to just make a new one and maybe kind of risk the second fan, I suppose, because there's no Blade Polaris anymore. So the only realistic board clear remaining would be the second fan. Wow. And the second Forbidden Ritual, so in this case,
8
like,
damage.
Even if there was another fan, there would be another ritual.
And that's really tough to work with. You have 4 health for the remainder of the game. Only if you draw Farseer can you start clutching it back. Edward's going to try to draw here for an answer. If he picks up Fan, he can Fan and Sap.
That's not going to do it.
Yeah, I think he's going to survive by 1 health point right now. And Killer Hero just has to find any source of buff damage, which is very easy to find in this deck.
It certainly is. The half of the deck is buff minions, and he can even life tap for it.
Well, that's not it.
That's not it. But is this it?
No, that's not. That's not it directly. Although Dark Peddler's a high chance. Oh wow!
Insta-pick.
There it is. So we have a tied series going to game number 7. And only the winner of the next game will be advancing. And remember, guys, single elimination. So it is where the rubber hits the road. Win or go home.
Yeah, and it's gonna be that crazy Hunter deck from Killer Hero. So much on this Hunter deck right now. I have to say that on the paper it doesn't look that strong to me. Some of the cards maybe a little bit too situational. The power shots, not what you want to have against a rogue.
What is on the hunt gonna really snipe from the rogue? You don't have Hunter's Mark, so it's not like you can combo it against really powerful minions like Van Cleef or Vile Teacher.
I'm trying to think, but there isn't really all that much. So,
but what it can do is be used for direct damage to sometimes close the game.
That is true. It does enable the kill commands quite easily.
It's just fascinating that he chose not to put Fiery Bat into his Hunter deck. He says, I don't really want to have these proactive plays on turn 1. I'd rather just have reactive options because maybe I want to answer the metagame. And as such, is that going to be Killer Hero's downfall, or is that going to be to his benefit because maybe he doesn't need the Fiery Bat? He's got King's Elec and Huge Toad and Blood Mage Thaunos, so he's got a lot of options in the early game.
Well, we've seen EdwardElric rope his mulligans, but this time around, it's just like instantly keeping his entire hand. Looking at those 2-3 drops and the prep auctioneer.
I don't know if I was in their position, and that's a big pickup, man, to be able to win the joust here and just have more gas. Because if you can have more powerful curves, you're just gonna have a better chance against the rogue.
Yeah, absolutely. He did have a Houndmaster already, so because of that, it's a slightly smaller of a deal, but still, you certainly want to win it, get that free card.
You know, you look at this situation here, and the huge toad is just not going to survive, you know, because he knows that you have Houndmaster. He's never going to let that survive in a million years.
No chance.
Yeah.
So there's the trade, and Farseer gonna put him back to life, back to full life points, and not too bad. I mean, doesn't get the full battle cry off from it, but it's something to play here.
Okay.
Quick shot, going to clear the board once again. Even gonna go for the Blood Mage here, just to have something going. Although it's not gonna be there for long.
Yeah, the Blood Mage is supposed to give things like On the Hunt and Power Shot a lot more punch to it. I mean, the 3 damage AoE with the Thalnos, that's pretty good against Shaman. I mean, even Rogue has a lot of 3 health minions.
That is true, yeah, absolutely.
But he has 2 power shots, and I feel like he's going to be very susceptible to drawing one of them in the next few turns and not have relevant plays.
Yeah, Eaglehorn Bow, that is a great card against the Rogue in general, but the Rogue is still at 29 HP, and it's not that strong right now.
Do you attack with this bow at all, or do you hold on to it?
I would probably hold on to it. There's no real reason to attack with it because he knows that there's no Harrison Jones. And he's like Azure Drake from the top. With that backstab, he is going to able to once again seize board control.
And another Azure Drake, so he has multiple flexibility in his plays, whether he wants to go for a Gadget Sand or just another Azure Drake next turn.
Oh man, 2 Houndmasters in Killer Hero's hand, but no Beast in sight.
Yeah, there's a really big problem with Killer Hero. Not just the fact, with his deck and his matchup, not just because of the fact that Killer Hero is very kind of struggling to remove efficiently, but EdwardElric has the Gadget Sands already prepared, and Killer Hero is just going to have to play reactive, and that's not the position Hunter wants to be in. They want to be the one presenting the threats.
Absolutely, and 4/3 for 4 mana, that's not a huge threat at all. And that second Eaglehorn Bow, potentially the worst draw he could have gotten from the top. Even On the Hunt would have been much better.
Kill command, only dealing 3 damage. He's going to use Deadly Shot here, just because he wants to develop more onto the board and try to use these double Houndmasters.
Oh no. Second Houndmaster without a battle cry getting used.
They must have missed the memo. You need a beast in order to activate it.
Yeah, it's not that good when you don't have the beast. There is a sap for EdwardElric, so now there's something reasonable to prep out. And an Eviscerate, wow, so he is able to deal with both of these Houndmaster. If he chooses to do so, I would imagine that he will just go for it, even though sap is very good also against cards like Savannah Hymen.
He has a realistic chance of also picking up Conceal before the turn is over.
Yep.
It does not, so he just used the Cold Blood to cycle 1 more card. I don't think I hate that. He already used Deadly Shots. He's already used 2 quick shots. There's not many ways that you can remove this Gadget Stand very efficiently.
No, Call of the Wild would be the card for Killer Hero, but...
Ha! Look at that, Savitz! Ha! And you doubted On the Hunt. Never doubt the Mastiff. Now, who let the dogs out? The Houndmaster finally gets his activation.
Wow.
I mean, not really much effect there. I mean, EdwardElric's got answers for days.
On the Hunt phase. I mean, yeah, I do agree. That was the best play he could have done in the situation. Blood Mage fan into SI Agent would be a full clear. Yep. That's probably what he's looking at right now.
Very clean.
Yeah, and Killer Hero only with a bow in his hand. He's in a lot of trouble right now. But there are those 2 Call of the Wilds that could maybe turn the game still around.
Yeah, I'd just be so afraid that if I do like high main sap, because that's exactly what Eric has. Well,
that's miserable. I have to be honest. Like
we were talking about this. They're saying we're in the scenario where Power Shot is not useful. People look at tech cards like Power Shot like, wow, that card when it gets value is amazing. And you're right, except for every time it's not amazing. And just like this, you'd rather have literally anything else in your deck.
Yeah. It can be so powerful against Suwolok when you time it right, but it's just, there's so many matchups where it also doesn't do anything at all. Okay, clears the Blood Mage, but that 3-1 is still gonna be there.
Yeah, and Edward, sure. He's like, well, you just helped me drew a card. You reduced the power on the board by 1. I don't think I'm going to be missing him too much.
Frodan, what do you think about like Leroy fan? No?
Yeah, I mean, he's out of cards. What else can you really do? Leroy Fan would be probably the most aggressive play, but he also could just play Violet Teacher, which is less power on board.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like stable because he does get those 1/1s here, and also the Leroy for next turn. It might give him a lethal if he was to draw a tiny bit more damage.
I don't know. There was a world where if Killer Hero had a third Quick Shot in his deck, he could have gotten Unleash the Hounds and Quick Shot and perhaps piece together the damage to end this game. But as of right now, we're looking at enough damage to end the game here from EdwardElric, as there's already 11 presented in Leroy Jenkins. So we have ourselves a second finalist hailing from Australia. He's going up against Handsome Guy to take the championship, as EdwardElric will end this game by a score of 4-3.
I mean, I gotta give some points to Killer Hero for being brave enough to bring this deck, but it did end up being his downfall in this series.
Back and forth.